Okay, lesson 101 is titled Rounding Mixed Numbers, and it's found on page 660 in your books. We have two objectives today. The first one is round mixed numbers to the nearest whole number. We're going to have a mixed number such as 3 1/2, or 3 3/4, or 3 1/4, and we're going to take those mixed numbers and determine whether we should round down to 3 or up to 4. If you're ever at halfway or above, you round up. If you're ever halfway, I guess below halfway, you'll round down. So 3 1/2 rounds up to 4. 3 3/4 is of course bigger than 3 1/2. That'll round up to 4. And then we have 3 1/4. 1/4 is less than 2/4 or less than 1/2. So you would round down to 3. And we'll dig a little bit deeper into that very soon. The second objective is use rounding to estimate the solution to a problem. So we'll get probably two fractions, and we'll round those two fractions before we actually add or subtract them together. Okay, so let's look at our books on page 660. It says the new concept, the mixed number 7 3/4, and they give us a number line. And on it are 7 and 8. They also put 7 1/2 right in the middle. Okay? If a number falls anywhere from 1/2 all the way up to the next whole number, you round up. If it lies anywhere below 1/2, you round down. Alright? It says that the mixed number 7 3/4 is between 7 and 8. To round 7 3/4 to the nearest whole number, we decide whether 7 3/4 is nearer to 7 or 8. To help us understand the question, we can use the number line, which I drew up here. And then, of course, the halfway point is located here at 7 1/2. We see that 7 1/2 is halfway between 7 and 8. Since 7 3/4 is between 7 1/2 and 8, this means that we round up to 8. Okay? Example number 1, found on page 660. It says JD had 6 2/5 yards of rope. Estimate the length of rope he had by rounding 6 2/5 to the nearest whole number. Okay. Now, if you'd like to, you can draw your number line, and you can put 6 1/2. You know that you're going to either round down to 6 or round up to 7. Okay, where is 6 2/5 located? How do we figure that out? Well, we can do it a few different ways, but I usually just ask myself, what is half of 5? Is 2 half of 5? Is it less than half or is it more than half? Well, I know that half of 5 is 2 1/2. Right? Now, we usually don't see fractions like this, but I know that 2 1/2 over 5, that would equal 1/2. So 6 2/5 is probably falls somewhere on here. So that tells me that I need to round down. Okay? So when we round 6 2/5 down to 6, we get our answer. 6 2/5 rounds down to 6 yards. And that's your answer for number 1. Okay, example 1, our answer is 6 yards. 6 2/5 is closer to 6 than it is to 7, so we round down. Example 2. It says, Kylie estimated the area of this rectangle as 45 square inches. Did Kylie make a reasonable estimate? Alright, and then they have 8 7/8. They also have 5 1/4. And those are inches. Now we need to find the area. We know that the area of a shape is length times width. So we need to multiply 8 7/8 by 5 1/4. But first we need to estimate these two numbers around them before we multiply. Okay, 8 7/8 is this 7. Does it tell us to round 8 up to 9, or does it tell us to round down to 8? Well, I know that if this fraction were equal to 1/2, it would be 4/8, not 7/8. 7/8 is bigger than 4/8, so I should round up to 9. 5 and 1/4. If I wanted this fraction, to be equal to 1/2, it would be 2/4. Because it's less than 2/4, I round down to 5. Alright, so now I multiply 9 times 5, and I get an estimate of about 45 inches squared. Okay, is Kylie's estimate of 45 square inch reasonable? We will put yes. For example 2. Yes, it is reasonable. Okay? If you put yes, it is reasonable for example 2, you will get it correct. Then I suppose I should capitalize my y because I want to make it a complete sentence. Alright, next page, 661, we have another example. Okay, example 3 says, estimate the perimeter of a rectangle. Okay, I heard perimeter of a rectangle, so I'm going to draw it out right away. It says, the rectangular picture frame that is 15 and an eighth inches long, 15 and 1/8 inches long, and it is 10 and 3/4 inches wide. Okay, so first we need to round these two numbers. 15 and 1/8. I know that the fraction with a denominator of 8 that equals 1/2 is 4/8. 1/8 is less than that, so this tells me to round down to 15. Okay? 10 and 3/4. I know that the fraction 3/4, if the denominator were 4, the numerator would be 2 if it were equal to 1/2. 3 is bigger than, or 3/4 is larger than 2/4, so I'm rounding up to 11. Okay, so now I have a 15-inch side and 11-inch side, and of course, rectangles, the sides opposite are the same. So now we add all those sides together. We get 15 plus 15 is 30. 11 plus 11 is 22. Now to find that perimeter, I add those numbers together and get 52. What's my label? I get 52 inches. Okay, and because it's perimeter, I don't have to worry about inches squared. Alright, let's do one practice problem, remembering that this is example number 3. Okay, let's do one more example, or I guess one or two more practice problems before I let you go. Practice problem A, it says, round each mixed number to the nearest whole number. Okay, this is what you're going to write down for example 4. A says 3 and 2/3. Alright, when they have odd denominators, typically they're a little bit more difficult because it's not so easy to divide them by 2. But if we know that, oh shoot. Okay, if we know that 2/3, we have to figure out, is it greater than 1/2? Do we round up or down based on if it's greater than 1/2 or less than 1/2? So first we have to figure out what half of 3 is. Now I know that half of 2 is 1 and half of 4 is 2. So if you go right in the middle of that, half of 3 is 1.5. Okay, this fraction would equal 1/2. So is 2 greater than 1/2? Yes. So for part A, we're going to write, for example number 4, we write down 3. Or sorry, we write down 4. Because 2/3 is greater than 1/2, so the fraction 2/3 tells us to round up to 4. Alright, I'm going to just draw this on the number line real quick. If we had a number at 3, or we had a point at 3 and a point at 4, and a point at 3 and 1/2, okay, how would we determine that we needed to round 3 and 2/3 up to 4? Well, we need to find out where 3 and 2/3 is located on our number line. And to do that, we can just split this up into 3 equal parts. Okay, 1, 2, and this would be the third equal part. 3 2/3 lies right here. Well, is that greater than 3 1/2? Yes. So we need to round up to 4. For example 4 in practice problem A. Alright, and finally we'll do example 5. Let's estimate the product of 9 4/5 and 5 1/3. Okay, this is example 5. It's actually practice problem G. Okay, we're estimating the product of 9 4/5 and 5 1/3. So first we have to decide, do we round up or do we round down? Okay, 9 4/5. What is half of 5? What is half of 6? Half of 6 is 3. Half of 4 is 2. So half of 5 is 2 1/2. Is this 4 greater than 2 1/2? Yes. So we round up to the whole number 10. Okay, we do the same thing for 5 1/3. What's half of 3? Half of 2 is 1. Half of 4 is 2. So half of 3 is right in between that, and it sits at 1 1/2. Is 1 greater than or less than 1/2? Sorry, 1 1/2. 1 is less than 1 1/2. So the fraction 1/3 is less than 1/2. So we round down to 5. Okay. After we estimate or we round these two numbers, we find the product of those two numbers, and we find that 10 times 5 is 50. Okay, we'll be doing a lot of practice when you get back to school. So if you don't understand this completely, again, feel free to rewind and watch again. Hopefully I can get you to understand this a little bit better when you come to class. Okay, have a good night, and I will see you tomorrow.